Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Who the hell asked for this? With Nintendo Switch trying to avoid the problem of the predecessor of the Wii U, Nintendo decided to ensure the third-party support for this new hybrid console was on point close to launch and beyond. This game came out roughly a few months after the launch of the Nintendo Switch, so by calling on the folks over at Ubisoft, we proceeded to get a few of Assassin's Creed game carried over to the Nintendo Switch down the road, but more importantly we got something at first glance you dare would be caught taking out in public. So I've played enough Mario games and the spin-off games to get a credibility sense of like what makes a decent Mario game, but never did I expect that you get something like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle being a tactical RPG game. Nor did I realize how much we actually wanted it. Now, as expected with the story from a Nintendo intellectual property game, the story is quite simple, but I gotta say it works. It's very interesting as you go throughout the game. The story starts off with the Super Nintendo creative inventor creates the Super Mega, along with the robotic assistant, Bibo. The Super Mega is able to take two things and combine into one. So consider it basically a polymerization from Yu-Gi-Oh!
I played a polymerization card. But I thought if I have two compatible monsters on the field, I can use my polymerization card and fuse them into one ultimate creature.
As the adventure leaves for a moment, a group of Rabbids from the Rayman franchise burst through the room in their time machine laundry machine and start causing chaos and inadvertently open a portal to the Mushroom Kingdom, hence the setting and the cast being Nintendo's Mario Bros. Franchise. Sprawny, the rabbit who eventually becomes merged with the Super Mega, is abducted by Bowser Jr., who uses Sprawny and the Super Mega to cause problems throughout the Mushroom Kingdom. So, inadvertently, it's up to Bibo, FB, and Mario to set things right. Along the way, you'll encounter new party members in the form of Mario characters, along with the Rabbids cosplaying as several popular Mario characters such as Mario himself, Luigi, Peach, and of course, Yoshi! So with the story being nothing to write home about, however, let's talk about something that is to write home about. The gameplay itself, and trust me, I'm going to be dissecting this aspect probably the most in this video. Mario plus Rabbids is a turn-based tactical role-playing video game akin to the XCOM and Fire Emblem series of games. Now the main thing I love about this game is the sheer amount of customization you can set up with your team, along with just how much thought is truly involved with this game. Imagine a game of chess, but with the characters and nostalgia and just enough cringe, where you say to yourself, how the f did we get here? The gameplay is primarily our team versus their team, involving in blasters and other weapons in the combat system. That is more than meets the eye. Each player has a primary weapon, their main blaster, a secondary weapon. Now, this varies depending on the player. Some have melee weapons such as Mario with hammers. Rabbid Luigi has access to a bazooka that has a great area of effect abilities and damage, as well as range shots. And Rabbid Peach has access to sentry bots, which are like little tanks that you can send to your foes and deal some real damage. By the way, these things are broken due to the amount of damage and area of effect that they can unleash, along with status conditions they can inflict on. But other utilities for this object is that they can disrupt your opponent from using abilities such as Villain Sight. Along with the primary and secondary weapons, you can also in fact deal damage to your opponents by using dashing, as well as jumping onto them after you perform a team jump, which is great to help provide more distance throughout the battlefield, deal out more damage, and even sometimes remove status conditions depending on how you built up your skill tree. All of this adds such a layer of depth to the combat itself, due to how many possible routes you have to get to the same objective. Now, let's also talk about abilities, because personally I feel often at times will help shape and define on what you want to make of your team. These abilities can be strong skills your team can use to help out completing the objective. A lot of these are damage based, such as Mario's Hero Sight, which allows him to automatically shoot at incoming / moving enemies within range. More support options such as Mario's Empower, which grants a strength buff to your party members within range, and of course defensive and healing capabilities such as Rabbid Peach's Shield or HP recovery ability. There are many more other abilities out there, but this would further drag out the length of the video to what may be a pretty long video as it is. The sheer amount of diverse abilities that holds incentive for you to mix and experiment with what team builds work the best, and oftentimes there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. There were at times where I had to break away from my favorite team, which usually consisted of Mario, Rabbid Luigi, and Rabbid Peach, in order to add more firepower and more offensive strategies, such as adding Luigi, who is a fantastic sniper, also rocks his own form of hero sight, as well as a sentry bot, and being a sniper, he does offer more long distance range combat. This also adds the Tacticam, which is a fantastic feature in the game that allows you to fully view out the map in order to ensure that the move you're making is the right one, and to see it in terms of all angles and looking at a bigger picture. And to be able to use a Tacticam in such a way to give yourself a great amount of information on a grid-based combat system, I gotta say, this is a great inclusion. Furthermore, we can even further customize our heroes with the addition of the skill tree system. Throughout beating the chapters and completing various tasks, your team will be rewarded with skill orbs. These orbs can be used to either add new traits to your character, such as more dash attacks, more health, and even lower cooldowns for the abilities to be used again, or permanently give them a boost to their overall stats, such as HP. The combat system we covered focused mainly on the offensive aspect, as well as the foundation of building a team. Another crucial step that needs to be addressed are the importance of character placements for defensive purposes. The main objective is to hide behind a wall of some sort, acting as a barrier to avoid possible attacks that may or may not be able to be broken down, kind of like the housing market of 2008. But these will act as a coverage system to avoid damage from the opponents. Now, there are at times where they can be broken, kind of like my spear, and even exposing some traps that can either harm or even benefit you if you use it properly. This makes it so wherever you go does matter tremendously, but also keeps you on your toes. Furthermore to placement, if a different character is on a higher elevation, it allows you to inflict more damage to foes on a lower plane. So ultimately, the high ground is pretty important in this game.
I have the high ground.
All of this, everything I just mentioned for the gameplay and combat itself, provides a near endless session of completing the game in a variety of different ways that encourages experimenting in even more playthroughs and even most post-game content, which thankfully, this game does introduce co-op playing. There is also a DLC you can access early on as well that adds even more content to an already condensed gaming experience. The music for this game is led by Grant Kirkhope. The mastermind behind some of Rare's most beloved catalog is back to compose, and how does it hold up? I really enjoyed it here. There were some tracks that often had a banjo-kazooie vibe, which makes sense since he did work on the project. A lot of the tracks often use a 4 orchestral arrangement with some choir ensembles that often, oddly enough, have a feeling that the constant need to keep moving the cursor and the battlefield going. Not a bad thing at all, but it just helps immerse you into the environment. I gotta say, the boss fights have some very bombastic songs that are bops and help create the situation as a bigger-than-life moment. Personally, I love the Bowser songs at the end of the game because it really drives the stakes into a huge moment, and this score for the game pays off well. With all these things, clearly it sounds like a perfect game, right?
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
However, there being the first game in what could be a line of new third-party games for Nintendo, let's talk about what could have done differently. So with this game, I want to stress completely, make sure you know when you move your characters is the right square. I can't tell you how many times that when I thought I was on the right square, it was actually one off before I bled to my movement, which could lead to a death, especially in later chapters where the foes hit harder and faster ever than before. This game doesn't have anything in placement of movements, where if you choose the wrong square, you're not able to head back out at all, and when you complete your move. Now, I get the fact that this is a tactical game, so you need to take approach slow, but I feel it should be at least allow me to confirm it's the right square or an undo button for movement. Could you like imagine how this would be in the real world? Due to this, it would actually lead me to having to reset the battle here or there because of the ramifications upon going into the wrong distance. Another thing I feel that needs to be addressed as well is the game does have some difficulty spikes here or there, nothing impossible, but sometimes they may not clearly lay out for what you need to do to win. For example, the final boss, which I'm leaving out blurred for your safety. Totally not Bowser, by the way. Nearly every boss in this game has 3 phases, and upon the 3rd phase, the game doesn't flat out tell you how to actually defeat the boss. So ultimately, it may boil down to trial and error to figure it out. Now, normally this isn't a bad thing. However, the fact that I have to beat the first 2 waves all over again just to attempt to beat the 3rd one just seemed to drag out the fight and waste time. Honestly, it got to the point where all I wanted to do was just to end the game. Though I will admit, when you do figure it out, it's very rewarding. This game also tries at times to diversify some of the missions, which I mean by the fact that most of the missions are defeating all the foes is a nice little breath of fresh air. However, there are a few you have to reach to a certain area, While the worst ones, in my opinion, of this game are the escort a non-playable character to a safe location. Now, beelining the goal zone is fine, but the guide the NPCs to a safe area, those were some of the weak points for me. It's like Resident Evil 4 with Ashley trying to guide her to safety. However, in this game, it doesn't have the same impact because one is a horror and uses its advantage really well, while this one is more combat and completing missions in as few turns as you can with the least amount of casualties. Considering the NPCs we have to tag along can't do anything but move, just makes it feel like you're bringing your sibling to a friend's house because your parents told you to, and not because you wanted to, and it's also like kind of like in a nagging way. However, in this game, because the enemies at times can just do absurd movement skills, long-range attacks, and utilization of effects to separate the party as you lead the NPC to safety, these missions felt more like a chore than actually gaming, so
for me, dog.
all in all, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is a game I never expected to get, but I'm glad that we did. The story has charm, the characters are great in their own right, and the combat is very diverse in what you want to do, and handles really well. Thank you guys so much for watching my Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle playthrough. Again, I suppose like this is going to be my always known Mario game for the Mario game we never wanted, but we didn't know that we actually needed for. Again, I had a great time streaming this game over at twitch.tv/Metallic Aerox, link in the description below, and I'm very much excited for what this game IP has in the future, because we do have a sequel confirmed in the works slated for a 2022 release. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. This is Metallic signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.